If you're sick of getting ghosted by your clients, then this episode is for you because I'm going to share a 6-step process that I implemented that made a huge difference in reducing the number of my clients that fell off throughout the process. Every travel agent knows there's nothing more frustrating than spending weeks or months making recommendations, discussing options, answering questions, going back and forth over text, email, or phone just to have your client fall off the face of the earth in the 11th hour. And while this can't be avoided entirely because you're always going to have some clients that are going to fall off, when you're dealing with something so frustrating, every single one counts. And the best part about this process is that it's a straightforward process that can be implemented by any agent at any time. So let's get into it.
Welcome aboard. Please take your seat and fasten your seatbelt. The Modern Travel Agent Podcast starts now.
This episode is brought to you by Palladium Hotel Group, which is fitting because this episode's all about reducing the number of your clients who fall off throughout the process. And one of the best things that you can do is to make sure that you're partnering with resort brands that share your same standard of service and the same vision for the client experience. There's nothing worse than losing a client because the resort that you recommended isn't replying to your requests or isn't delivering on their promises. But that's one reason why we love working with Palladium. When we reach out to them to check availability for a destination wedding, we know they're going to be prompt in their reply. When we send clients to their properties, we know they're going to do everything they can to deliver a great experience. If you're looking for a reliable resort brand to partner with and to help build your agency, then Palladium Hotel Group is a great option. To learn more about their products and offerings, visit pro.palladiumhotelgroup.com. There's a million reasons why clients ghost. But with this episode, I really wanted to focus on what agents can do to improve their relationship with their clients. So the first thing is get your client on the phone. I remember when I first started in the industry, I was self-conscious. I was afraid that, maybe if I spoke to all my clients over the phone, they would realize that I wasn't the expert that I was supposed to be. I didn't know everything that I should know. And then as I gained more knowledge and more confidence, I also grew my book of business, which meant that I didn't always have time to talk to my clients over the phone. I was so busy, replying to emails and sending over quotes and making reservations and dealing with travel emergencies that it was hard to make time to be proactive and to call my clients. But I quickly realized that a 10-minute phone call on the front end could easily save hours of work on the back end. And so I began to make it a huge priority. One thing that I realized when I made it a priority was that it was far easier to connect with my clients. I was no longer this faceless order taker hiding behind email. I was a person, and I was able to get to know them as a person. And that had a huge impact on the relationships that I was able to build with my clients. So that's a fundamental part to keeping them engaged, is building that relationship with them. And that's hard to do over email. But there were still a lot of my clients who didn't want to get on the phone. And so they'd say something like, "Hey Chris, sorry, I can't talk this week, super busy with work. Can you just send over some options?" And I realized that when I just did that, those were the ones that always fell off. And so I said, okay, hold on. I'm going to be a little bit more insistent. I'm going to figure out how to overcome that objection. So I'd say something like, "Hey, John, no worries. I completely understand. If it makes it easier for you, I can make myself available during my lunch break, or maybe we can speak sometime in the evening. It's just really important that I'm able to pick your brain so I can make sure that the recommendations that I send over to you are going to match your vision for your vacation experience." Typically that was enough for them to understand why it was important. And so I realized that if somebody couldn't take 5 to 10 minutes out of their week to talk to me about their vacation, then they weren't that serious about traveling, or at least they weren't that serious about booking their trip through me. And so one way that you can reduce the number of your clients who fall off in the process is to filter them out earlier, before you do hours of work doing research and sending over travel quotes. The second part of the process is that once you get them on the phone, you need to make sure that you ask great questions. Right? This is a great opportunity for you to demonstrate your product knowledge and your expertise. And so open-ended questions are phenomenal at just letting them talk and explain their vision. I'd ask things like, hey, John, have you been to an all-inclusive resort before? Have you been to Cancun, Mexico? Can you tell me a little bit about that experience? What was your favorite vacation that you've taken? What was the highlight of that trip? What could have been improved upon that trip? Right? I'm just trying to get him talking so I can take notes and really understand what's important to him. But sometimes there are clients who don't really know what they want, and they're not as talkative. So one way that you can kind of get past that is I would ask either or questions. So I'd say something like, would you say, are you more of a pool or beach person? Would you say that you prefer more of like a lively party resort or something that's kind of quiet and laid back? Either or makes it easier for them to pick out an option if they're not the type of person to just kind of talk and tell you all about their experiences. And one thing I realized throughout this process was the importance of dealing in tangibles. A word like relaxing can mean a million different things to a million different people. So the more specific you can get them to be in their explanations, the better information you're going to have to make your recommendations. So if you compare it was relaxing to, I loved laying on a beach cabana and just falling asleep to the sound of the waves. One of those is going to be way more helpful in the recommendations that you give. And so you need to deal in tangibles as much as you can. The third step of the process is at the end of this call, where you've sort of picked their brain, you've gotten to know a little bit about them, you've started to build this relationship, you have notes that kind of document the tangibles of past experiences and what they like and what they're looking for, is that you're going to recap the high points to them and tell them how you're going to use that information to inform your behavior. So for instance, it could look something like this. Hey John, thanks again for taking the time to talk with me today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together some packages for you. I'm going to try and focus on nonstop flights out of JFK because I know that you said you really prefer to fly Delta. I know that you said that you've done Cancun a million times, so maybe we're going to look into something a little further south, either in Playa del Carmen or Tulum. We're going to find an adult-only property because, again, you've mentioned that you prefer to avoid, screaming children. You kind of just want to relax and unplug and disconnect from work. Try to just make sure that he understands, number one, that you've been listening and paying attention. Number two, that you're going to use this information in the recommendations that you make. A lot of times we just assume that our clients know that we were listening to them, but there's no better way to show them that you were listening than to repeat the high points back to them and to tell them exactly what you're going to do with that information. Step 4 is you want to give them a hard deadline. This is a crucial part of the process. So you're going to say something like, and I'm going to have these travel quotes over to you by the close of business today, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's a pass-fail test. There's no ambiguity. There's no like, well, he said tomorrow, he said today, he said this week. Did he forget about me? It's none of that. It's very clear, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. This gives you this opportunity to set the expectation that when you say you're going to do something, you're going to follow through and you're going to do that. This is fundamental to building trust in this relationship with your client. The 5th step is before you hang up, you're going to make sure that you tell them the next step. Right? This is going to manage their expectations. It's going to reduce any sort of ambiguity or anxiety. You never want your client to say, okay, what next? Because what happens then is you lose momentum. And when you lose momentum and engagement, that's when clients fall off. So you always want to handhold. You always want to kind of show them the next step or two. So you're going to say something like, if everything looks good on the quote, you can click the book it button at the top and then submit the information to me. I'll go ahead and move forward with making your reservation. Or if you have any questions, you can just reply to this email. You can always shoot me a text or give me a call. And then of course, if you got a busy week and you prefer that we kind of put a call in the books, we can schedule a call as well. I'm here to help out. I'm looking forward to sending over these options and getting your thoughts. Sometimes you can even go multiple steps forward in the process. You can say, and then once I have your information, I'll make your reservation. I'll send over a confirmation. We'll only need sort of the minimum deposit of $200 per person to confirm your reservation. And then your remaining balance won't be due until 45 to 60 days prior to departure. If you want to make additional payments on the reservation, it's super easy. You can kind of pay towards it as you go, or you can just wait until the last day and then pay it all then. It's entirely up to you. The important thing is that they always know what to expect and what's next. This always keeps it clear of what you're both working towards. You got to keep them engaged. You got to handhold. You got to tell them what's the next part of the process. And you got to make sure that you're always there to show them what to do next. The last part of the 6-step process is follow through. So after you've done the research and you've sent the quotes over and you've explained why you sent those quotes to them, then you can text them or call them to just say, hey John, just to let you know, I just sent over your travel quotes. If you want to go through them together now, we can, or if you prefer to look them over and just get back to me later this week, that works too. As always, you can text, email, or call. I just want you to know that I sent it over and I'm here for you in case you have any questions. And then you continue just to follow up and you stay engaged with them. Now, again, no process is perfect. You're not going to be able to make sure that nobody falls off. But if you follow this process, it will make a huge difference. So number one, you get them on the phone. Number two, you ask great questions. Number three, after you've asked those questions, you're going to repeat back to them the top points and the big takeaways, and you're going to tell them how that's going to inform your actions. Then on step number 4, you're going to give them a clear-cut deadline that's going to allow you to follow through and show them that when you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. Now then step 5, you're going to tell them the next step in the process or the next few steps in the process so there's no confusion. And then step 6, you're going to follow through, you're going to send the options, you're going to connect with them, you're going to make yourself available, you're going to be as helpful as humanly possible so they know anytime they need anything, if they have any questions, if they want to move forward with the reservation, they know what the next steps are, they know what they need to do, and they know you're there for them. If you have any questions about this process or any parts of it, maybe that you do a little differently, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you again. Until next time, take care.